Welcome to the EUCannaJobs Potcast. We're excited to have you with us as we explore the happenings in the European cannabis industry with people in the industry. I'm your host, Andy Mansfeld, the founder of EUCannaJobs. We connect European cannabis companies with people looking to find employment in the industry, whether they're new to the industry or looking for a new opportunity already. Today, we have an exciting guest, Edvin Brnčić, a cannabis advocate and researcher who's currently the brand development manager at Easy Seeds. Thanks for joining us, Edvin. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Andy. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Thank you. And thanks everyone else for tuning in. So Edvin, I understand you're from Croatia, but you did your master's in Amsterdam about cannabis in Croatia. Can you tell me a little bit?
Yes, so I did my master's in leadership and change management, and I decided to write a thesis about benefits of the introduction of cannabis market in the Republic of Croatia. We all know that Netherlands was the first country that had some tolerance policy in the place in 70s. So I used the Dutch model. I interviewed 12 people in total. 9 were Dutch entrepreneurs working in cannabis industry, and also some journalists, politicians, all kinds of people that I consider to be meaningful to my thesis, experts in this topic. And this was in end of 2019, 2020. So it's still actually actual because when I was started with thesis, they were saying me that the weed experiment, the legal weed experiment in the Netherlands would start that year, but it actually started only a year ago. And right now you have 4 licensed companies that have flowers on the market, and in total there are 8 licenses. So it's pretty slowly everything moving. So my thesis is still recent, and it contributes some new knowledge about the Dutch cannabis industry. I talk about stigma that these entrepreneurs are dealing with in the industry. That can be from the banks, from the courier services like DHL, UPS, and all these, because this is still considered a controversial industry.
Right.
And specifically, the focus was how it would benefit the Croatia. And I focused more on the cannabis tourism, because Croatia was and probably still is at the top of direct GDP contribution of tourism to the GDP. So Spain, Greece are similar countries, and we can see that, for example, from the Netherlands, they are with this tolerance policy, which they don't have any taxes. They just get tax on the profit from coffee shops, which includes, I don't know, you take 1 bottle of Coke, you get 1 gram of cannabis, and this total, they pay tax on that.
Okay.
So with only that, they make $500 million per year, roughly. So if it would be legalized, you can expect at least double, if not more. And for Croatia, which is on top of the European list with this direct and both direct and indirect contribution of tourism to GDP, would, I think, benefit more than other countries, similar to Spain, now Malta, but Malta is also still moving slowly. So, and we both know, hemp has industrial, it can be used in anything. It's much more better than plastic and all this stuff. Environmental benefits, it can, it absorbs CO2, I think 4 times more than common trees. It's called weed for a reason. It can grow anywhere. So if we are really fighting this climate change and everything, I think in everyone's interest would be also to have hemp growing as much as we can. Outdoor, not indoor, because indoor is not really sustainable. These two don't go well together. But
unfortunately, medical cannabis ends up having to be grown indoors, but certainly industrial hemp doesn't. And like you said, there's a ton of environmental benefits to that.
Exactly. But on the other hand, 3 days ago, I saw an article someone posted on LinkedIn from some German portal that they are saying that now Germany is making hemp more sustainable by growing it indoors and nonsense like this. So
I see
people
that.
are still spreading like a lot of nonsense. And yeah,
Yeah. I mean, anytime you have to grow a big plant like that inside, it's not going to be better for the environment.
exactly. Yeah.
So what are the current laws in Croatia? What's the situation with medical? Are they looking at recreational? Are they looking at home grow? What's going on there?
So actually, Croatia was one of the first European countries to legalize medical cannabis back in October 2015,
Okay.
but it was only for cancer, MS, and AIDS, so it was very limited.
Mm-hmm.
And it was from Tilray, the Canadian producer. So it
Right.
was going from Canada all over to Croatia. Not worth the money. The doctors were not educated about it. They were not willing to prescribe it to the patients. It was overly expensive. So average people could not afford this.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a disaster. I think they maybe sold like 1 gram of oil or something like that. It was terrible, so terrible that they had to destroy everything or ship it back to Canada or something like that because it was nothing sold and stuff. And there was this big case of this Juanito guy who is a patient with MS. He
Mm-hmm.
was growing, I would say, more than for personal use with his mother. And they caught him. They took him to prison, blah, 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 and cannabis was really helping him. Like you could see, he was all like, and then after cannabis really raised his quality of life and everything, and then he ended up in prison without access to cannabis, and his health deteriorated and everything. It was so bad. And at the moment, we had the right-wing government, right-wing president, but even this right-wing president realized that this is not helping anybody, having this guy in the jail. And that was the first pardon, like cannabis pardon. So he was pardoned. He's still not allowed to grow for himself or anything. He cannot afford the medical cannabis. So he's still, I assume, getting it from the black market or growing it by himself illegally.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing is changing. We are still with right-wing government. Back when I was writing my master thesis, we had elections a year later. Right government wing won, but I had the draft law of the left-wing government that was ready. It was, I would say, what I see now, it was probably the best law in the Europe. It was not fully developed, but they would say that we would have 12 plants per household. So everybody could grow 12 plants, which is similar to Colombia. And I interviewed this politician who was in charge of writing this law. I have it in my hand, but it's still somewhere in the drawer, and who knows when will it come out, because
Okay.
right wing and cannabis, no,
Yeah.
just don't go together. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
it's it's unfortunate. Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
and since 2013, it's decriminalized. Cannabis is decriminalized, so you pay a fine if they catch you with a joint or something. Fine is from 500 to 1,000 euro, which is for some people in Croatia a salary.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So it's not good, but yeah, at least you don't go to jail for one joint anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
When was that? When did that pass?
2013 was decriminalization.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So 2015 was medical, and we are still waiting for.
Okay, but nothing's really happened since then, unfortunately.
No, CBD market is booming. You can buy it at gas stations, at little kiosks, and all this everywhere. So this kind of helps with normalization because older people go buy newspaper, they see like jars with cannabis, like what is this? So they are learning that it is something normal. It's not like this devil's plant, like
Yeah.
what they used to be taught. And it's helpful for changing the opinion, but in the end, it's CBD. We need to have everything, the whole
Yeah.
plant, and that's
Yeah.
the best and the only solution, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. And like you mentioned, the idea of having 12 plants. In Germany, you're only allowed 3 plants, which, it's a fair amount if you do a good job or if you get lucky, however you want to look at it, and get a good yield from your plants. I mean, it's enough really to for yourself to keep yourself supplied, but three still isn't that much, especially if you consider that ideally you would be able to kind of harvest every month or every couple of weeks. So then all of a sudden you would grow one plant at a time. That doesn't really, doesn't make as much sense. So
Yeah.
I think a little bit more liberal with the amount of plants that people could have would be beneficial. Then in the
Yeah.
end, you can't even have that many grams at home of what you're going to grow. So
Yeah. If you have 3 plants and the limit is 50 grams, it doesn't make
yes,
sense.
so you grow your plants, and then all of a sudden you're technically breaking the law because you did it too good of a job of growing. Now you have too much product. Um, Not that Germany is looking to run around and necessarily be strict about that, but of course, if for some reason the police come in and see your three plants with big buds, in theory could get in trouble. So
Yeah.
um,
But this happens because we have people in charge who don't understand anything about cannabis. People who are writing these laws don't know anything. They never grew a plant. They never had a joint in their life. They probably never saw cannabis plant except on TV when there is a raid or something. So
yeah,
you cannot have these kind of people writing these policies because it's made to fail. It's not for the benefit of the people. There will be some lobby group that will benefit in the end, like I believe it will happen in Germany or it's already happening. So all these laws are not made for like home growers because you see in USA also how the legacy growers cannot really compete with corporate cannabis, but their quality is 10 times better than what is on the shelves.
yeah, yeah,
So you cannot exclude these people because these are the people that started all this. In the Netherlands also, they also had the written law. There is probably still in some drawer back in the 90s. And then France got involved. Jacques Chirac was the president at the time. He called Netherlands, you are the narco state. All French people go to Netherlands to get high. They come back drug addicts and all this stuff. But at the time, Wim Kok was the prime minister of Netherlands or president, I don't know. And he didn't say anything, but he was supposed to say, look, how many heroin addicts, hard drug addicts you have in the France and how many in the Netherlands, like,
yeah,
and all this stuff. I think also the daughter-in-law, or actually the daughter of Jacques Chirac overdosed on heroin. So who are you to talk about this, calling these cannabis people that like drug addicts and all this stuff? So these politicians, these people in charge, don't have balls to say like to because they care about all these international relations and all this stuff, but they kept it how it is with tolerance policy. They have backdoor, which is not legal. So how weed goes to coffee shop is not legal, but you can buy it there. This is creating criminals. So Dutch government is basically actively part of criminal organizations because before, these like legacy growers, let's call them like that, they were
hmm
normal people with no guns, nothing. They were growing for themselves. The rest they would sell to coffee shops. Everybody was happy, no violence, nothing. Then you have hashish, all this, people get involved, dealing hashish, getting money with this, which gets them to coke, other hard drugs, dealing weapons, smuggling people, I don't know, all
yeah,
kinds of crimes. But this is what government created, not like some hippie guy didn't want this to happen.
yeah,
So, and after 50 years since they have this tolerance policy, they now go with this experiment. So you had experiment for last 50 years. Everybody benefits from coffee shop. There is a benefit for republic, public safety. They say the drug tourists, coffee shop, cannabis tourists, they cause problems on the street, everything. No, it's the alcohol tourists and all this. You have studies about that.
yeah,
So, coffee shops are something unique. It's also Dutch culture, they don't put curtains on the window and stuff. So it's something unique. You enter there, everybody can see you from the street. You just need your ID. You can buy it, you can consume it there at the place, which with new laws in Germany, Malta is still taking time, which is a nonsense because we want to remove it from the street, so that some children on the playgrounds or grandparents walking with their kids or something. So they don't inhale the smoke, or they are not exposed to this. So like you have bars for the alcohol, you have coffee shops, social clubs for the cannabis, but
Yeah.
they don't consider it as part of the safety. And
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and prohibition has been shown time and time again to not work. In the U.S., when they did prohibition of alcohol a century ago, it's what created the majority of the organized crime organizations in the U.S. at the time. Uh, Al Capone, all these other big guys, big crime families, all got started from prohibition. And then once that became legal, alcohol became legal again. Then they switched over to other drugs and things like that. And a lot of them initially didn't even do that, but yeah, they got their start in prohibition. And you mentioned, the politicians who say that cannabis is going to lead to other drugs, and that also has been proven not to be the case. That it's not a gateway drug, and if anything, now we have evidence that you can use cannabis to actually help with your addiction to other substances, whether it's alcohol or other drugs, to actually help you overcome those addictions. So all these old lies and propaganda that we've been hearing from the government forever is being shown now scientifically through studies to be complete BS. Which a lot of those things many people already suspected, but now we actually have studies that show it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I think one of the biggest was the gateway drug thing. I mean, so many people who use cannabis do not end up. The vast majority don't end up heroin addicts or anything else. Maybe they do some other recreational drug use, but also don't necessarily become addicts for it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think alcohol is the bigger problem than all of this. You will not, after joint, you will not go do a line of coke or something, but after alcohol, you probably will. So it's like, and also the Dutch government, every government, they do this analysis of the most dangerous drugs and everything. Always tobacco, alcohol is always in top 5. Cannabis is never in top 10, but cannabis is the one that is problematic, and tobacco, all this. Even now, synthetic cannabinoids like HHC and all these selling in vending machines without ID, without anything. Like Mary Jane, also this year, there was like the synthetic mushrooms, like muscimol or something like that. Like, who comes up with this stuff? Like, who let these people to exhibit at the cannabis expo? Like, it's bad picture for all of us, because of one guy. Now the whole industry is like viewed as problematic, and you have 10, 20 cases, hospitalized people. First time ever from cannabis expo, you see this. Like, but that's Germany. It's leading, I think, in a totally wrong direction. Wrong people involved. Also, I don't know if you are familiar with Juicy Fields. Like
I'm very familiar with Juicy Fields.
So all these people that are now in Germany, like I will not mention names, but the lawyers, the government organizations, there is proof on the website they were directly or indirectly involved with Juicy Fields, and now they are speaking at various events that were also paid by Juicy Fields in the past. And they write about this, that hemp is sustainable when grown indoor. They write a lot of bullshit online, and when you comment on this, you mention something, they all block you because you dare to mention Juicy Fields and all, because they are respected lawyers and respected members of the society. But in reality, they are clowns who are destroying this industry, who have nothing to do here. They're here just for the money, to make profit on people that are
I mean, unfortunately, there's bad players in every industry and everywhere, but certainly in a new industry, relatively new as far as legality goes, industry like cannabis here in Europe, where everyone is looking and everyone's looking for fault and for issues. When you have these bad players, everyone talks about it and the press talks about it. It makes the whole industry look bad, unfortunately. So, I mean, nothing you can do about it, but as an individual, but except for
I mean, we can spread the word because many people working in industry never heard about juicy fields, which is like a bit
yeah, very
but
surprising to me, but yeah. But yeah, actually, I met with the president of Juicy Fields numerous times. So I mean, I got to know him a little bit, but there was always something up because he could never answer the question where was the product going. You know, he had all these growers, and some of the companies were legitimate growers actually, but I don't know what happened to the product because there was no one. First of all, it ended up being a scam. But I said to Alan, I'm like, well, you've got this company and this company, which I knew people at those companies or knew of the companies and knew the names of the people, so they were legitimate. So you've got someone supposedly growing for you, but who is buying it? Where is it going? And he never would answer that question about where's the offtake? Where is it ending up? So it was interesting, and that's why I was very wary of the whole situation, because I'm like, if you can't answer the question of where is it going, then there's something up. I mean, it's got to go somewhere, or there's no point in the business. At one point, though, he was looking at he approached me about coming up with a distribution plan in Germany. And he wanted to get a distribution license in Germany, and I don't remember the exact details, but was discussing it with me. So at one point, it did look like there was a legitimate effort on their part to find an offtake. But even then, he still couldn't answer some of those basic questions, which made me very wary of really going much further in that process. But I mean, it was clear that something was not completely correct there.
Yeah, and all these events, how it looked like they were spending like 100,000 euros bills for the drinks and stuff on these VIP parties, and no, it's money laundering.
That was the other. I mean, I agree. That at every event that had any type of reputation, they were sponsoring the very big ones. They were big sponsors, and I mean, there was those sponsorships cost tens of thousands, at least. I mean, probably 50 to 100K, like you just said. So they definitely had cash and they were throwing it around. But,
and it ended how it ended, like I think it's close to $1 billion, like more than $500 million, I think.
Estimates vary widely. And I don't know if anyone will ever know, but it's huge.
We will see. Like there are people working on the case, but for example, like I think last year or 2 years ago, on this let's call it business conference in Berlin, the lawyer who is working on the case got attacked by a cake. He was thrown cake in the face. Like this doesn't happen at other events. So only at these particular events that were and are involved with juicy fields, and these individuals are like, these are the people that we don't need here, and as soon as they realize that, it will be better for everyone.
Well, I mean, we need honest people for sure. So I wanted to talk to you also about seeds. I know you work with seeds, and that's a big topic here now in Germany. So in Germany, now that you have home growing, they're still trying to figure out if clones can be imported or not. And I think clones are being imported, but it's not clear if it's legal or not. So there's some kind of confusion there. I thought it was supposed to be very clear it was, but apparently it isn't. I don't know if that was a mistake in the way the laws were written, or I don't know what's going on there. I haven't looked at the details very closely. But you work for a seed company, so tell me something.
For the past 3 years, I work with seeds, and about the clones, I think most of the clones that come from Germany, they come from Austria, because there are a lot of companies in Austria who are producing clones because there it's legal. Until it gets to the flowering, they even sell it in the grow shops, even mother plants and all this. So in Austria it's possible. So then they ship it to Germany, because as far as I know, it was supposed to be legal, but somewhere on the way, it went wrong. Also about the seeds, a lot of shops are scared to sell seeds publicly. But on the other hand, you have some people who got access to sell it at the gas stations around the country. So I think a lot of like owners of the grow shops and head shops don't really know what is exactly the law. Even the lawyers don't know.
Yeah.
So it creates a lot of confusion, but there is a lot of shops selling seeds. There is also something that I don't like, which is a trend now in Germany. These shops buying white label seeds and then putting their own name, their own packaging, and selling them as their own seeds, which creates confusion and it's not transparent. But all companies do that, and unfortunately, it's part of the industry. And production of seeds is also illegal, so you cannot really legally produce it. So that also kind of defends these companies doing that, because it's still not legal. So why bother? Because we had a few years ago Dinafem seeds here in Spain. It was one of the biggest producers. They did really everything by themselves, like even making final products and stuff like that. They were raided by the police, closed. Like a lot of people ended up in the jail. I think there is a still case on the court, like a room full of evidence. A lot of distributors are involved in this. Everything. This was 3 years ago, I think. And
Okay.
so they were the ones that tried to do it properly, everything in-house, and the law doesn't let you do it. And they got, really, really fucked up.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
And
unfortunate because I mean, like you said, they were trying to do everything correct, and they thought they were, and then apparently they weren't. Um, and like the situation here in Germany with clones, apparently it's not legal, but people thought it was going to be. The way when I read the law originally, because I looked at it a long time ago when it first came out, it looked like, I mean, there was stuff in there about clones, and it looked like, yes, you can do clones. And now, for some reason, supposedly you can't. I don't know why or what, but you know,
but I saw clones were sold at both Mary Jane, Canafair, probably at Hamburg also. So everybody is selling them. Is it fully legal or no? Who knows?
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's those gray zones which don't most people don't think are gray areas in the law, but then turns out to be a gray area. But if you don't know that, all of a sudden you're breaking the law without knowing it. And in most countries, um, just because you don't know you're breaking the law, doesn't get you out of trouble. I mean, some things are pretty obvious. If you kill someone, you're in trouble. But some things might not be that obvious, or like walking on the street with a beer, completely allowed in Germany, not allowed in Poland. So, but I mean, you don't get thrown in jail for it typically, but just saying, it's something that simple. Where you come from seems fine, but then all of a sudden where you are, different law, different situation, and all of a sudden you're in trouble. Yeah. So how long have you been working in the cannabis industry total now?
Well, working in for 3 years, because just after I graduated, all the COVID start was going on, so there were no jobs, nothing. I was asking all these people every month. I would send to all these 12 interviews. Hey, you remember me? Do you have some job for me? Blah, blah, blah. No, it's COVID. It's really bad for the whole industry. So as soon as it got better, like in 2000 and I think it was summer of 2020, I moved here to Spain to work for Seed Stockers. I spent there 2 years, and since last September I work with Easy Seeds, which is a Czech company, but I'm still living in Barcelona, working remotely.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, it's good. It's good when you can work remote. I mean, I'm fully remote. Definitely makes life easier. Yeah. And so, you mentioned that it was difficult at first due to COVID to get into the industry. What advice do you have for people who are not working in the cannabis industry but would like to?
Well, it's tough industry to get into, because nowadays, because back when I was looking for a job like 4 or 5 years ago, there were not many like cannabis specialized recruitment agencies like yours and some others that are now on the market. So it was basically you go on LinkedIn, you search for cannabis, nothing comes up because cannabis is not a keyword on LinkedIn, not allowed. Now you can put actually that you have skills of cannabis cultivation, so that changed. LinkedIn is one of the most friendliest platforms. But yeah, back to this, I would go on LinkedIn, search for people working in the cannabis industry, so adding them on my network. Back then, I would also write introduction. Hello, I'm a master student. Would you be interested in doing interview with me? So it started like that. Then as I talked to these people, they recommended me more people to contact, to talk to. So basically, from my personal experience, it was all about these personal connections that I made. Also, when I left the previous job, also this job I found through a personal connection, which was one of my ex-client and distributors. So I think nowadays with like the recruitment agency like yours, it might be much easier for people to enter. The problem here in Spain, from my experience, is that there is lack of highly educated. I mean, in general, in cannabis industry, there is lack of highly educated people. It's mostly like the lowest salary you can give them, and that's it. At least here in Spain, So, if starting your own business maybe would be a choice, but yeah, personal connections are the most important, and once you are in, it's really easy to move around the industry, but it's hard to get in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in the end, I think for all industries, networking is super important. A lot of people, um, when they're comfortable where they are, they don't do any networking. They're not on LinkedIn. They're not really reaching out to make new connections. And then they decide it's time to make a move, but they haven't been doing that networking, so they find it difficult. So, I mean, like you said, LinkedIn is a great tool for networking, for finding people. There's tons of cannabis groups on LinkedIn where people can join and start meeting people, joining conversations, and things like that. And I agree that's very important.
Yeah.
You know, most jobs get filled through networking, not through recruiters. Actually, I mean, we we're busy, and of course we stay busy, but in the end, most jobs are getting filled before they ever get posted and make it to a recruiter or anything, because they'll say, hey, I need a master grower, and they talk within their company, within their own team, say, hey, anybody have any ideas? And 5 people say, oh, I know one, or I know one, or I just was talking to one the other day on LinkedIn who, I can look into him, or her. So yeah, networking is very important. I agree for people who are wanting to get.
Sorry to interrupt you. To add one more thing, I think it's good thing also to, if you are not in the industry but interested to get in, to visit the trade shows like Cannabis, and all this. Bring your CV, talk directly to companies that you are interested to talk to, because if they see you in the person, you are there, already paid the ticket, you are interested in this stuff, they have different opinion than somebody just sending email or applying online.
Right.
So this personal contact is, I would say, mostly important.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Those trade shows can be good too. Of course, the big ones like Cannabis, Cannafest, Mary Jane. Usually, the people are so busy they're not going to have a lot of time to talk to you. But if you another strategy is to, before events like that, start reaching out to people who on LinkedIn who work at those companies. If you can have start up a conversation with some of those people online, then you can say, hey, oh great, I'm going to be at CannFest. Are you going to be there? Well, I'll stop by and say hello. And then you do have that personal connection also, even if it's only for 3 minutes, because there's a line of 5 people trying to talk to them. Still, you've made a personal connection, in person personal connection, which is great. So,
exactly.
We've been talking a little bit over half an hour now, so I'm going to try and wrap it up. What if people want to get in touch with you or learn more about the company Easy Seeds? How could they reach out to you?
The website is easy.farm. So, and I'm available on LinkedIn, Instagram, email, everywhere. But LinkedIn is, I would say, the best way to contact me and get in touch. Yeah.
And it was easy.com?
Easy.farm.
.farm.
So FARM.
Okay, and Easy is I-Z-I or I-Z-Y?
Yeah. I-Z-I, yeah.
Yep, okay, great. So great. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, Edvin, and it was very interesting to hear about what's going on in Croatia and about your master's. Unfortunately, that Croatia hasn't made more progress after being one of the original countries, but at least they've got a basis to work off of. That's not complete prohibition, I guess. So, so thank you everyone for tuning in and meeting Edvin, and thanks for coming back to the podcast. Please stay tuned in. We'll be showing a couple of jobs that we're trying to fill right after this. And then, of course, anytime you want to reach out to us, you can find us on LinkedIn. You can also sign up for our newsletter and go to our website to look for jobs there, EUCannaJobs.com, of course. And everyone, thank you again. Wishing you a great day and keep exploring the world of cannabis.
Thank you.